Australia's favourite SUV, the Toyota RAV4, has arrived in its 6th generation form, over 30 years since the original Toyota recreational activity vehicle arrived in Australia. Since then, the SUV has set the world on fire. In Australia, it sold over 600,000 units, and worldwide, over 50 million Toyota RAV4s have sold. And with this latest version, Toyota's planning to put the recreation back into RAV4 once again. It says it's a car for adventurers, but of course it needs to do a lot more. It needs to appeal to families, to small fleets. It needs to appeal to commuters. It needs to do everything. Let's take a look at the new Toyota RAV4. There seems to be a variant for everyone, and let's drill into the details. There's a choice of 5 model grades and 8 variants in total in the new hybrid range, including 2-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options, with a plug-in hybrid version coming later in the year, which offers an additional 3 models. And Toyota's done a lot of work on the exterior styling to differentiate the different variants. And that differentiation includes different grilles, such as this honeycomb one on the cruiser model, and then there's different wheel and tyre packages as well, from a 17-inch rim all the way up to a 20-inch rim. And each variant has a slightly different internal specification too. So you're going to want to really go through that spec list to pick off the Toyota RAV4 that's going to meet your needs. But I'm pretty confident you're going to find one. But let's go and have a look at the cabin. This is the top of the range cruiser model, and on first impressions, I have to say it's really nicely finished. It's got a good combination of materials. It's got a really nice supportive seat. This one's got a leather seat with a suede trim. They're heated and ventilated in the front too. And I've got this larger infotainment screen, and more to come on the detail behind that very shortly. In terms of storage options, there's some really clever ideas here. We've got dual wireless charging on this model, and there's also loads of different cubbies. I wanted to show you as well in a second this center console. It's really quite clever in the way that it can be configured. There's also some pretty innovative ideas too in terms of the way that they've integrated some storage options into the door handle. This door handle is pretty boxy, but it gives me enough room to pop a phone or a small wallet. Really great. And in terms of the shifter, well, that's quite nice and neat. It is in this center console, so it does take up some space. If I was thinking about comparing this to an electric vehicle, they typically will have more space in the center console area when the shifter is moved onto the stalk. But here it works really well. I've got 2 nice big cup holders. I've got a fairly large area here for stashing gear. And I've got this large center console. So come and have a look at the center console, because this is pretty clever. It opens in 2 different directions. So this way, but it also opens this way. It's not deep, so it won't carry a bottle of milk, but if you take this lid off, you've definitely got space there, and it's nice and wide. But once we've got this out, we can flip it over, and it slots in there, and then we've got a hard base for popping something on. Maybe if you're stationary and you want to put your food there, that's a really good little spot. Very clever idea, and I like it. One of the highlights of the new RAV4 is Toyota's new infotainment system. This is the first vehicle in the range to debut Toyota's new Arene operating system. And what that means is, well, it's fast, and there's a series of connected car technologies which will connect your phone to your car. So this is the first car where you can actually use your phone to unlock the vehicle. One of the other great features that's available now on this car is Google integration, which works directly with the navigation that's on board in the RAV4. So you can search for locations, look at ratings, and then use the navigation system to get you there. You can also input those same details in your phone, and then the phone will connect to the car to get you on the move. Let's have a look at how easy it is to connect your phone to the new system in the Toyota RAV4. So press connect on the car, look at your Bluetooth settings on the phone, add a device. It's going to look for available devices. So you can see here it's found my iPhone. I can also see on my phone it's found the Toyota RAV4. I'll press add. I'll press confirm. Press pair on my phone. It's taking its time, and it's now offering me the opportunity to connect to CarPlay. So we've got wireless CarPlay on the RAV4 as well. So I'll hit connect. It's going to ask me on the car to start Apple CarPlay. I'll hit start. So now I pop my phone out of the way, back on the charger, and I can drive the system directly through the infotainment screen. What I like about this one is that it's a large screen, and it's showing me pretty much all of my apps on just a couple of pages. So I haven't got to scroll through a lot of pages to find what it is that I'm looking for. If I swipe the other way, it's going to give me my navigation as well as the podcast that I'm listening to at the moment. And one of the other great features of this system is the embedded Spotify application. So you can connect your account and you can play Spotify directly from the infotainment screen. Now, you don't have a wealth of apps like you might get with other manufacturers. Toyota's pretty careful when it comes to what you can access through this screen. So that's just some of the highlights of the new interior from the front seat, but let's go and have a look at the room in the back. So the first thing I notice is the nice recline in the back seat. It's really feeling quite relaxed. Now, this front seat is a little bit further back than I would typically have it in my driving position, and I've still got loads of leg room. There's great headroom too, and there's a really nice open feeling here thanks to the moonroof, which really helps to bring light in here. I've got heated rear seats as well. This is the top of the range cruiser after all. There's a couple of USBs which are standard across the range. I've got air vents here as well and some nice storage pockets. I've also got a smaller version of that storage in the door handle that we've got up the front, so it's still enough room to pop a phone in there. So all in all, some really nice space here for rear seat passengers. I can alter this backrest too, so it will come up to be a little bit more upright, but overall plenty of room for a family, definitely enough for 4 adult passengers in comfort. The RAV4 has definitely fit the brief for those customers looking for space. And talking of space, let's go and have a look at the boot because it's pretty impressive. Depending on which variant you choose, you might get a powered tailgate, like in this version. As you can see, there's a really nice wide opening. The whole of the rear has been reconfigured. Now, I've put this golfing umbrella in here so you can see just how wide it is. There's easily plenty of room for a golf bag across the back. And as you can see, it's nice and deep. Now, we've got this parcel shelf here, which we'll pull out. A couple of tie-down hooks either side. We've got a 12-volt socket here as well. So loads of practicality, but I really like that nice long load space, and it's nice and wide too. But one of the other things that I like, if you watch any of my videos, you'll know how excited I am by this, is a space saver spare. There's a lot of cars coming now with just an inflator kit. Across the range, everything comes with a space saver tyre, which is great. But if you choose the entry model, the GX, you can option that to a full-size spare. And that'll keep you mobile if you're away from home. The full-size spare obviously will keep you at speed. These ones are limited to 80 k's an hour, but it's another way to keep you on the road. And the rear seats have been re-engineered too, so we can fold them completely flat, which makes loading gear a lot easier. If you're familiar with the outgoing RAV4, then one of the first things you'll notice when you jump behind the wheel of this new generation is that the dash is sitting lower. It's actually about 32 millimeters lower, and that means that the field of vision is a lot greater for the driver. I've got fantastic visibility, particularly immediately in front of me, and that's something that you don't get with larger SUVs, and it feels a little bit more like I'm sitting in a ute, so I'm a little bit higher up, but I really like that. It's a lovely, confident driving position, and I've got, like I say, great visibility all around the car. One thing I really like is the seats. They're nice and comfortable, really supportive for the driver. It's quite interesting to think about the roads that Toyota has chosen to showcase the RAV4. They aren't your typical medium SUV around town kind of roads. These are some tight, twisty corners up in Tasmania's Cradle Mountain region, typically reserved for much more sporty variants, but I think it's given us a really good idea about the improvements that have been made to the Toyota RAV4. Those chassis improvements and the changes to the suspension have really improved the dynamic handling of the RAV4. It feels more confident on the road. It's definitely more composed in cornering and very assured. A lot of that's to do with that braking posture control as well. That new system that applies a minute amount of braking pressure to assist in controlling the wheels on perhaps slippy or tight corners. We've been fortunate to test drive a number of different variants of the RAV4, and they've all got a slightly different wheel and tyre combination, but I haven't really found a significant difference in the larger tyre and wheels, all the way up to the 20 inches on the cruiser model. Really don't compromise the ride at all, and that's encouraging. These roads in Tasmania are beautiful compared to Victorian roads. There's much fewer potholes. The quality of the tarmac is a lot greater, but I feel confident in saying that the ride is not going to be significantly impacted by driving on some slightly more compromised tarmac. One of the things I like is the feedback that I'm getting from the steering wheel. We're in eco mode, which typically makes things all a little bit light and soft, but there's still decent feedback from the steering here. It definitely doesn't feel too light. In fact, in turning the car around, it did feel like it needed a little bit of effort to actually move that steering wheel. It definitely wasn't particularly light like you might expect from an urban SUV. So I think all of that talks to the fact that this is a very balanced car. So this car really needs to do a lot. It needs to appeal to a lot of different driver types. And I think that Toyota's did a really great job at helping it meet those objectives, whether it's somebody that's hitting the road for long drives or whether it's an urban driver that perhaps just wants to use it to drive around the city, all the way through to family buyers that need to move numbers of people and gear around. You know, it kind of ticks all of those boxes for a lot of groups. So the RAV4 really is doing a lot of heavy lifting. One of the things that it does labour on is the engine. It probably could do with just a little bit more power to make it sound like it's not working as hard as it can do. And one area where you can't fault the engine is its efficiency. This is Toyota's 5th generation hybrid vehicle, and it offers some pretty impressive fuel economy numbers. There's a 4% improvement across the range. So for the all-wheel drive model, that equates to a claim of 4.6 litres per 100 kilometres, and for the two-wheel drives, 4.5 litres per 100 kilometres on the combined cycle. Those are impressive numbers. And I think in these days of focus on fuel efficiency, it's where Toyota really claims the crown. So what are the highlights of the RAV4? Well, in terms of the changes that they've made, it's a much more dynamic feeling vehicle. It's not sporty, but it does feel confident on the road, and it's composed too. It's really very assured through corners. That brake posture and control does a lot, I think, to help it get itself around corners confidently. Also, those chassis and dynamic changes as well mean that the RAV4 feels like a more complete vehicle. In conclusion, the RAV4 is a significant step up from the last generation, and that was an incredibly popular and accomplished car. This version takes everything to the next level. It drives better, it's got better packaging, and it's even a little bit better on fuel economy. The one fly in the ointment is the lack of a 5-star ANCAP rating. We would have liked to see this car arrive with that ANCAP stamp, but Toyota tells us it's doing what it needs to with the next iteration of this product. So we're assured that a 5-star rating is not far away. And for private buyers, well, it's going to be a case of take this car for a test drive and see if it meets your needs. The fuel economy is significant on this car. 4.5 to 4.6 litres per 100 Ks claimed is low. This is a vehicle that ticks a lot of boxes for buyers. They've done a great job at introducing a number of different variants for everybody that's in the market for an SUV, and I see no reason why the Toyota RAV4 isn't going to continue as Australia's favourite SUV well into the future. If you're looking for your next car, you can research and compare running costs, features and specs, and view loan options at RACV CarMatch.